Well, there you go. Those are five things that make The Sims bleh. I remember when The Sims 3 came out. I had a week left of high school, and because I was taking Honors Accelerated Pre-Calc and Honors Physics, I really didn't have much time for anything else. So I was actually able to play the game because, well, the school year was winding down and there wasn't all that much left to do. But if I could describe my reaction upon loading up the game and playing it for the first time with one word, it would be disappointment. Now, don't get me wrong, The Sims 3 is not at all a bad game, but there were things that I just were kind of expecting to be there based on the transition from The Sims 1 to The Sims 2 that weren't. And let's not even begin to talk about The Sims 3 to The Sims 4 because, well, let's be honest, we'd be here all day. In fact, while I was playing The Sims 3, I found myself yearning for features that were in The Sims 2 and kind of wanting to go back to it, which wasn't really all that possible because that computer was really slow and didn't really work all that well. But case in point, it was a completely different experience than when The Sims 2 came out, because when The Sims 2 came out, I was like completely and totally obsessed and absorbed with that game. It was like the greatest thing ever. And in the Sims community, believe it or not, there's kind of like a difference between those of us who have been doing this for a long time and those who started with The Sims 3 or even The Sims 4. Because, you know, while a lot of us complain and bicker about what The Sims 4 lacks, and don't get me wrong, it does lack a lot, the newer people to the franchise don't really understand why we're being so picky. The point is, a lot of people, including myself, think The Sims 2 was the best game in the entire series. And to help newer players understand that point, I've created a list of 5 things that make The Sims 2 the best. Quick little thing before we get started here. Again, this is solely my opinion, and it's okay if you don't share it. In fact, it's completely okay if you think that there's another game entirely that's the best in the series. If you like The Sims 3 best, that's fine. If you like The Sims 4 best, that's fine too. Just as long as you're respectful to everybody when talking about their opinions, because, you know, everyone's opinion is valid here. So without further ado, here are 5 things that, in my opinion, make The Sims 2 the best game in the series. In The Sims 2, when you had all the information about a particular sim and the little panels, there's this little tab, it was called the Simology tab, and when you looked at it, it would tell you their personality and their zodiac sign and their bio and all of that wonderful stuff. And also there was a specific tab for their memories. Now you could pull up this menu and just look at all the memories, and there was their entire life story in black and white. Actually, it was red and green, but you guys get the point. This was an amazing feature to come with the pre-made Sims who already had a storyline, and so you can see, you know, what happened in their lives. Not only did it record what happened, but it also recorded when it happened in relation to other things in the Sims' life and who else was involved. And also there was a little bit, you know, like a cute little tagline explaining something about the memory. It was actually really fun to go through all of the pre-made Sims and look at all of their memories and read all of it. It was like, oh my goodness, it was so fascinating. Not only that, but these memories actually accumulated while you were playing the game. Anytime something good or bad happened to a Sim, they would get a memory from it. Anything from getting married to having a child to getting robbed would be all there in their memories tab. In fact, you could play a family, put it down for a little bit, come back a few months later, and everything is right there where you left it. All of their memories would tell you already what happened, and if you're a person like me that takes a lot of screenshots, that would also be there as well. It was a lot of fun playing the game and seeing what kinds of memories could be added to a Sims memory tab, creating their own story so that you could see it later on. And memories weren't just a thing just to look at when you're bored, they also were important in gameplay. Because once a Sim got a memory, it had like a certain value of it. So a Sim could talk about that memory with other Sims. They could talk about a robbery that happened if it was still fresh, complain about it. Or they could brag about getting a promotion or anything like that. Now after a while, the value that would hold this memory would basically diminish to 0, so the Sim would no longer talk about it. However, if your Sim witnessed the memory or heard about it from another Sim, they could go on and spread the gossip to others. So if you do have a Sim that's cheating on their spouse, the word could eventually go back around to the spouse themselves. And this was probably one of the primary features that I was kind of expecting to be in The Sims 3, but just wasn't there. I remember looking at bootlets thinking, wait a minute, are these memories? What the heck are these things? And just being completely disappointed that that feature was just cut out of the game entirely. One of the key features that The Sims 2 introduced to the series was the ability of your Sims to age. So you could have a Sim be born, play through their entire childhood, have them grow up, and have children of their own. And as they did this, they went through several different stages of their childhood. The Sims 2 added stages such as toddlers and teenagers. So instead of, a baby just randomly turning into a child, like they did in The Sims 1, and for an amount of time in The Sims 4, but we're not going to talk about that now, your Sim would become a toddler and would have to be potty trained, taught to walk, and all of that other wonderful stuff. What made this feature so amazing in The Sims 2 is that each age actually felt like their age. Teenagers felt like teenagers. They looked and acted like teenagers. They had specific clothing sets that they could wear. And I'm not complaining about that not being in future games, because I like how teenagers above are able to wear every single outfit. But teenagers, they would have their own specific, mannerisms, their own specific style, their own specific interactions that they could do. They could sneak out with friends. If they were mad at everybody in their family, they could run away from home. They had their own specific type of romantic relationships. And it's this kind of thing that's missing from these Sims 3 and these Sims 4. Children also had a lot of different stuff that they could do. They could play games such as Miss Mary Mac, they could jump rope, blow bubbles, they could show off. They had a bunch of objects that were just for them, like the little stove. Toddlers even had a few things of their own. They would follow their parents around, just like, real toddlers. They would go around and splash in the toilet, and they were so cute, and they would crawl, and you would have to teach them how to walk. It was something that it was really this kind of thing that just made, each age special, each age thing, and made it really feel like your Sims were actually growing up, that we no longer have in these Sims 4, especially when it becomes to teenagers, where they just are just like mini adults. Now, compared to The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, The Sims 2 had a lot of different interactions, and they were actually quite a lot better in terms to the details in their interactions. Yes, okay, so there was chat, which was basically just chatting, and there's a lot more interactions along those levels in The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, but romantic interactions were a lot better. Instead of having one kiss and one hug, there were several different kisses. In fact, you could start with just like, you could charm, hold hands, goose your partner, serenade them, cute things like that. And you could also progress from a simple kiss on the cheek to a full-on makeout session. But that just wasn't it. Your Sims, like in the other Sims games, could cuddle on the sofa, and cuddle in bed, and cuddle in the hot tub. The thing is that each of these animations were different. Each of these ones had different things your Sims would do. When they cuddle on the sofa and you left them alone for long enough, one Sim would actually jump in the lap of the other. And then they would, kind of nose rub and nuzzle each other's neck, and it was just really adorable. Also, each kind of cuddle interaction had its own set of different interactions on each furniture you could do. On the couch, there were different kisses. You could peck, romantically kiss, or, again, full-on makeout session, which was actually different on the couch than it was in the bed, than it was in the hot tub. In the hot tub, you could actually splash other Sims and give them a massage. And of course, in the bed, you could woo-hoo. In fact, new expansion packs also brought new details and new kinds of interactions. In The Sims 2 Nightlife, you could sit and cuddle in a booth and do interactions such as hot smooching or holding hands or whispering to each other. It was, oh my goodness, it was amazing because there was a reason for each of your Sims to do, the different things. For your Sims to cuddle in different areas and do new things with their partner. Kind of like, progressing in their relationship. It's really kind of boring in The Sims 4, where every single interaction for every single place is exactly the same. And not only that, but The Sims 2 also had a bunch of interactions that came while your Sims were slow dancing. If they had enough relationship, they could dance close to each other. And then you could have one Sim lower their hands, put their head on the other Sim's shoulder, or even do the dip kiss. It's interaction details like these that was, again, something I expected to be in The Sims 3 that wasn't there. I was really disappointed that the only options were kiss and make out. That just took a lot out of the game for me, and it just wasn't as fun anymore. Speaking of details, there were several details that were just added into The Sims 2 that weren't in later Sims games. Some were cute little things like Sims actually opening cabinet drawers to pull out kitchen equipment, and some were big gameplay features. One of this was the social bunny. Now the social bunny was kind of really just hilarious in its own right, because whenever your sim got extremely lonely, like a lot of us are doing in quarantine right now, they would start to hallucinate. And all of a sudden this giant bunny would just show up and you could do several interactions with it and it would increase your social no matter what happened. You could have a full-on fight with the thing and it wouldn't care. But probably the funniest thing about the social bunny that I didn't notice it did until I actually got one in my game is the fact that it hops around when it moves. And if you manage to get more than one social bunny on a lot, they will actually interact with each other. Bunnies of the same colors will fight, bunnies of different colors will be friendly with each other, and pink and blue bunnies will actually be romantic. Another detail that was kind of a staple in The Sims 2 was the ability to go to a private school. What you could do is you could invite the headmaster over, and if you managed to impress him, your Sims would get into the elusive SimCity Academy, where their motives would actually drain less, but the work was much harder. However, they had to have a good grade or they wouldn't get in. It's these details and things like this that basically took a lot of the gameplay experience out of The Sims 3 and The Sims 4. And although some of them were added in expansion packs, it really didn't do the job well at all. And of course, last but certainly not least, The Sims 2 had a story. Now, those of you that are new to the franchise are probably like, Joan, what the heck is going on? What are you talking about? The story is yours to create. And yes, for any Sims you create, but the pre-made Sims actually had a story going on with their lives. It was actually pretty much a continuation on from The Sims 1. It's supposedly supposed to be 25 years after, but of course that's a bunch of BS because, well, Brandy broke the game, no pun intended. Okay, I did that on purpose. Sue me. But the point is, there were certain things going on in the pre-made Sims lives at the moment you started the game. Pre-made Sims weren't just Sims that they slapped an outfit on and gave a job. They actually had relationships with not only others in their household, but with others in the neighborhood. And there was quite some drama going on as well. And of course, when I refer to the story, I am primarily referring to the disappearance of Bella Goth. Yeah, those of you who know me saw this coming from a mile away, but it's something I have to mention here. Simply because, well, that's the reason I do what I do. If it wasn't for this particular part of the story, I would never have written That Fateful Night, which completing it actually remains my greatest accomplishment to date. And on a side note, there also wouldn't have been Trouble in Paradise 2, but that didn't come until much later. Basically, Bella is someone that, I wouldn't normally be drawn to at first, as you've seen with Lilith and how I was drawn to her probably right when I started the game. But Bella kind of grew on me because of her story, and I learned to fall in love with her as a person and as a main character, and her story and her family. And that has really been driving my efforts and stuff for when I create content in The Sims and That Fateful Night for the last 10 years. And no, I am not obsessed. It's not like I have random pictures of Bella Goth on my walls or anything. Sheesh, people. And as far as Trouble in Paradise goes, I pretty much loved Lilith from the beginning, but it wasn't until much later that I fell in love with her and Dirk and Trouble in Paradise as a whole. But again, if it wasn't for The Sims 2 and its story, none of that would have ever happened. Well, there you have it. 5 things that make The Sims 2 the best game in the series. So what did you think? Did I get everything right? Did I leave out a couple of things? Or is your favorite game in the series something completely different? Feel free to let me know with a comment. As always, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you leaving a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. Also, you can follow me on social media if you want to see behind the scenes, fun facts, stuff like that. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at VisitJoan, and if you want to know my thoughts on all things Sims related, feel free to follow me on Twitter at VisitJoanVideos. But anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. Bye everybody, I'll be seeing you in the next video.